how are the metaverse and gaming related?
So this, so to a certain extent, and we'll talk about this more later, I think. But to a certain extent, the metaverse, so principles that the metaverse will bring will make gaming more fun, or at least more exciting.
Yeah.
So that is one. But I think for a second part of the question is the meta gaming is building a lot of the technologies, is building incidentally a lot of the technologies that the metaverse will eventually run on. So a lot of principles that we've discovered through building these complex games are principles we'll be using in creating these really cool AR digital overlays that have nothing to do with gaming, but just make our life better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And how is the experience of gaming in the metaverse different from traditional gaming experience? For example, there are already a lot of open world games out there. Is that different from a metaverse game?
Yeah, so the question of what a metaverse is a question that a lot of people are still wondering.
Yeah.
After like this whole craze of the buzzword the metaverse came when Facebook rebranded itself to Meta, and they announced we're going to build the metaverse and etc. And well, crypto, of course, seized the opportunity to make some people in crypto seized the opportunity to make a lot of money using the word. But yeah, we're all still left wondering what exactly is the metaverse, and why isn't it just like an RPG game or Second Life or whatever? So originally the metaverse was envisioned as this VR world, this really believable VR world, getting close to what you see in the Matrix. Like really a second type of world that you can jump into, and whatever. I think the metaverse is going to be more what I described earlier. It's going to be a persistent digital overlay over the environment in which we already live. But also in gaming, there will be you'll be seeing elements added to games, and we're doing the same thing as well that you haven't seen in gaming up until now. That I'd say this really differentiates it from classical games and makes it able to call itself a metaverse, or at least to some extent. One of them is cross-platform interoperability, and with that I don't mean we play a match, you play on the Xbox, I play on the PC, but I mean that I, as the gamer, use all the devices that I have to play the same game, but in different ways. So if I'm doing X, Y, or Z, I'm using my computer. But if I then have to go into the city, I put on my AR glasses and I can still play the game. I can meet other players. I can see them wear their armor of the game while they're walking on the street. All your devices will work together to create this coherent gaming experience. So that's one very important aspect, I'd say, make something a metaverse, and that's also really a big vision for us for the long run for Eden. But then you also have the idea of persistent player property, is at least how I call it, but I'm sure people have different words for it. But for example, some people listening might know, for example, the game RuneScape, where you could have your own house in RuneScape.
Yep.
So you had this whole world, this map with villages and cities and whatever, and all these buildings there, they were just NPC buildings, to call it, like non-playable buildings.
Yeah.
They weren't owned by the player. They made up the main world. But if you had your own house, you went through this portal, and then a separate instance was loaded where your house was. It's not a persistent house. It's not a part of the actual world. It's like different area that is spawned just for you, so that you have the feeling that you have a house.
Yeah, no one else sees it. Only you see your own house.
Yeah, and you could invite your friends to come over, but that's it. And in persistent player property, you actually own a piece of the main map, and it cannot be it isn't deleted by the game developers. It's part of the main map. You actually own that piece. So you can imagine a digital city where every house is owned by one of the players. So your digital ownership as the gamer will be part of the main gaming environments that we all play in. And it makes it a lot more realistic, because that's how the real world functions as well.
Yeah, so it's a real world, but then into a digital world.
Yeah, and then the last step is true digital ownership. So you actually own the items that you have in game, and you can do with them as you please. You can sell them for real life money if you want.
Kind of like an NFT again. like
Yeah,
owning
yeah,
something for real.
and this is the part where NFT technology plays a significant role in the development of the metaverse, because NFT technology enables us to do this really efficiently and
Yeah.
really effectively.
My brain is like going all kinds of ways, like thinking of all these things, because it is sort of intense or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it will fundamentally change gaming to a large
Oh
extent.
yeah, 100%.
And I'm not advocating that every game should start adhering to these new principles or whatever.
No.
It's also fun to play a game where there isn't a real life stake, where your items don't have real life value.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends. So you'll have games that do this, you have games that do that, or games that do none of these aspects. You'll get a little bit of everything.
True.